The problem, however, is not simply a technological one, it is political. Given the current state of their relations, there is little reason to assume that China would make such an offer, or that North Korea would accept it. Jang Song-thaek, Kim's uncle, was North Korea's principal interlocutor with China. His arrest and execution, as well as the removal of dozens of other officials associated with closer ties to China, marked a turning point in Kim's rejection of a foreign policy that attempted to promote economic growth in favor of a military-first policy. His truculent indifference to Chinese sensibilities was confirmed when he ordered the assassination in February of his brother, Kim Jong-nam, who had been living in Macau under Chinese protection. Then earlier this month, Kim Jong-un pointedly chose the week of Xi Jinping's BRICS summit in Beijing to detonate a nuclear test. So one mustn't oversell the chance of success for this proposal. Nevertheless, there are important advantages to China in making such an offer. China would join the establishment of great states who take responsibility for world order, which would be of palpable importance to the PRC's own domestic legitimacy. Unless one believes that international politics is a zero-sum game, this would also be in the interests of the U.S. The real difficulty remains the intransigence of the North Korean leader. There are other elements of a possible deal, of which the proposal I have described is the centerpiece. Both Russia and China have for some time been pressing the double freeze, a freeze on North Korean nuclear and missile programs in exchange for US and South Korean renunciation of joint military exercises. The Americans have always opposed this idea on the grounds that joint military exercises are a response to the conventional North Korean threat, not the nuclear threat, but there might be a way to modify these exercises to make them somewhat less threatening. The North Koreans could also be offered reduced sanctions and a formal end to the Korean War by means of a peace treaty whose signatories included the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Finally, there might be some Helsinki-like recognition of the legitimacy of the current borders and a renunciation of any effort to overturn those borders. No one will take this radical proposal seriously unless we stop deluding ourselves about the incentives we can realistically employ to compel the North Korean regime. There is no chance that anything short of an ironclad guarantee of their preservation as a dynastic regime free from outside intervention will modify their behavior. They will starve their people and run almost incalculable risks because they have no other credible choice. And no guarantee that the U.S. gives is credible to the North Korean leadership. In summary, economic sanctions, and/or threats of our military action can push Kim towards negotiations, but in the end those negotiations will be highly likely to founder on his need for nuclear guarantees. We need to prepare for the fact that a resolution of the current crisis will likely require a PRC guarantee. Are we prepared to support that? I think we should be. The course I propose is not without costs. It might increase the risk of a Chinese-US confrontation, and it would link Chinese nuclear strategy to a surrogate state that is inclined to get into conflicts. It is, however, a more promising option than any being canvassed at the present. And time, at this juncture, is not on our side. Philip Bobbitt is the former Senior Director for Strategic Planning at the U.S. National Security Council and is a law professor at Columbia, where he is the Director of the Center for National Security. He is the author of Democracy and Deterrence, The History and Future of Nuclear Strategy, and U.S. Nuclear Strategy, with Sir Lawrence Freedman and Gregory F. Treverton.